Hello, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our introduction to OverDRIVE. As you may know, it's a solution for building smarter sites with your G Suite content, and that's the area that we'll be focusing on today. My name is Sean Power, and I'm one of the business development managers at Refractive, who are the creators of OverDRIVE. And the session will last around 30 minutes, and the recording will be made available afterwards. If you have any questions during the event, and please use the chat box in the upper right-hand corner on YouTube, and we'll answer any questions raised at the end of the session if we get time, or follow up with individual answers after the event. This is the agenda for the session. We have a few slides to introduce the product, and then we'll bring it to life with a demonstration where we'll build an OverDRIVE site live for you. So we'll be using some pre-existing content and creating the site from there. And then finally, we discuss possible next steps in your investigation of OverDRIVE for your organization, as well as looking at some existing customers and some uses for OverDRIVE, which are out there at the moment. So OverDRIVE is designed for organizations using Google G Suite, and this is because it's deeply integrated with G Suite and lets you create a website or a portal automatically from content in Drive and elsewhere within G Suite, as you'll see. With OverDRIVE, you can create great looking web pages without the need for specialist skills. You simply choose from a wide range of page types to suit your content and your audience, and you'll see this as we go through the demonstration. Your staff or other users will have easy online access to the resources and information that they need based around the content held within the site. And also, as an added bonus, any additional site or any site created by OverDRIVE is automatically mobile friendly for anybody with mobile access. There are a number of uses for OverDRIVE within all types of organizations. The ability to spin up sites very quickly, as you'll see in the demonstration, means that it can be used for both short and long-term projects. For instance, if you have an event running at the weekend, an OverDRIVE site could be quickly created to share event booking information, presentation decks, feedback forms, etc. Alternatively, long-term sites such as staff intranets and project workspaces can also be created using OverDRIVE. And it's this flexibility and the fact that users can create as many sites as they wish, which is one of OverDRIVE's key strengths. OverDRIVE is hosted on Google Cloud Platform, along with other services that you may know of, such as Spotify, Evernote, Wix, Shazam, etc. We currently have locations in the US and Europe to provide service localization, and they will be expanded in the future. As you can see from these architecture maps, GCP provides us with global scalability and world-class security, and it allows us to concentrate on adding functionality to the OverDRIVE product rather than having to deal with infrastructure issues. So I'm now going to show you OverDRIVE in action by creating the site live for you, if the cut of live demonstrations allow it. So I'm just going to cancel the presentation. And you see here we are within a fairly standard Google Drive structure. You see that this is the one I'm interested in, this company intranet. See that we're several levels deep in terms of the data that we've got in here, and some of these folders have got existing documents in, and they've got documents of various types. You can see PDF, Google Docs, Word documents, etc. I'm just going to come up to the top level folder, and I'll right click on that, and I've got an option here to open with OverDRIVE. So the first thing that OverDRIVE does, it checks the validity of my access. Essentially, can I access this site? Am I allowed into it? And I'm just going to sign in with Google, because we use Google to authenticate access into the site. So now it knows that I can access the site, and clearly in this case I can, because I'm creating the site for myself. And what OverDRIVE does, it looks into that Google Drive folder structure, pulls across all the folders, which become menu items, and pulls across any documents as well, which are in those folders. I've got a help panel here on the right-hand side, and we've got some standard text here. So we'll just give a brief overview of what we can do, and it guides users through using the site. I'm just going to turn this off just so we've got some more space on the screen for the purpose of this demonstration. And that essentially is our site created. You see here we've got on my menu structure, which were the folders within Google Drive, and I've got some documents as well, which is being pulled through. So what I want to do is just kind of brighten the site up a little bit, just to spend a little bit of time on the design, just to give you an idea of what we can do. And first thing I'm going to do is add a logo. So I click on the Add a Logo button. I'm going to browse for images, and I can either bring something through from Google Images, I can upload an image, or in fact, in this case, I'll just do a Google search for logo. It's very imaginative, and that one looks like a nice logo, so I'll select that. You see that appears at the top left on every page. What I can also do on the site is change the look and feel of the site, so it reflects my brand, the style that I want, it reflects my audience, etc. And I've got a whole range of options for changing fonts, colors, layouts, sizes, etc. Or simply, just for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to select one of these pre-selected themes, which kind of changes it and does what I need it to do. You see that I can also change the layout here, so I can change the menu bar at the top to a particular size. I can say how the site appears. I can change the banner, whether I've got a search button, etc. But I'll leave it at that just for now, just so I've got a basic change and a basic view of the site. Now, OverDRIVE is made up of individual page types, and the page types are really dictated by the content of that particular page. One of the most popular ones is for the front page. I'm coming up here to page settings, and this is where I set the page style. First thing I'm going to do is, as you can see here, I'm going to turn off this subnav, so I've got more space on the screen, and I'm coming to page type. And I'm selecting one of these options here as how I can build a page. And I'll show you some of these later. I'm going to select dashboard, and I'll leave everything the same. And dashboard is unique because what it does, it kind of creates a demonstration dashboard for me, which is useful for this purposes because it gets some content in there quickly. So I've just clicked save. OverDRIVE interprets my actions and said, I actually want a dashboard. Gives me a message telling me it's demonstration content, which is good. But you can see we've got a mixture of some static information in this image and text. I've got a graph coming from Google Sheets, which is updated automatically. I've got a Twitter feed, which is live, so I can select, click through, deal with that as I need to. I've got a YouTube video, and I can play that YouTube video, and I can pop it out onto full screen if I want to. So that's very useful for imparting information to visitors. But essentially what this allows me to do is get some fresh content onto the site very quickly. And this is made up simply from a Google document. And we'll see a little bit of this later. So I'm creating a table on a document and inputting my information, and that's creating the dashboard for me. Makes it easy for me to create the information. Okay, so if I'm imparting information, I'm just going to one of these documents, and I'll go to company reports because I know there's some information in here. First time I visited a folder, it kind of looks at Drive and makes sure that I can see this information, and does a refresh, and it looks at it. So it's slightly slow on my first visit, but you see that it's not too bad. Here we have a series of documents. These documents existed within my Google Drive, and I've got a mixture on here. So I've got PDFs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, etc., and even Word documents. So this is okay. It's interesting. I can see this information. It's a nicer environment for users to exist in, but I might want to spark this up a little bit more. Well, I can add some functionality to this. So let's say that I wanted to see further information about this document. So I can add a Drive description. I can see when it was created, when it was modified, might even get a preview. It's obviously not a very interesting document, but I can add any metadata tags in here to allow me to search for it much easier. I can also pop it out into a new tab. So if I do want some editing to occur on this document, then I can change that editing. But actually what I want to do is just change it to an icon view. So imagine if this was a folder full of images and documents, then this would be the best type of view for this type of document. In this case, these are documents, not particularly interesting, but it's okay. We can see the information. You see that we're automatically paginating from one page to the next. So again, I'm creating thumbnails every time I visit a page, so it'll be quicker the next time that I come through to here. A couple of things I can do. Let's say I'm interested in filtering this list. So I'll put annual in here. So anything that mentions annual within the title or within the content of a Google document, it will pull that through. And I can even create new documents or link documents to this folder from elsewhere within Drive if I need to. And I've also got a notification. So if anything changes to this folder or an individual document, then I'll get a notification on that. Okay, just want to move on to another way that we can display information. So I've taken a Google Drive folder, displayed that, embedded that, and we've seen that. But now I want to deal with an individual document. Well, I want to come up to page settings again. So come up here to page settings. And again, I'm getting rid of the subnav because I want to display it like this. This time I'm selecting the page type, which is Google Drive. And I can do a Google Drive search looking for this particular document that I'm interested in. And I know that it's an intranet tutorial that I'm interested in, the document that I want. So it does a live search for me. Select that document. I know how I want to deal with this, so I'll just turn this option off and click Save. What OverDRIVE is doing is looking at that document, looking at the content of that document and pulling it through into this particular page. So very, very easy for me to create pages within my site directly from Google Documents. And I'll show you a little bit later how we can change that information, how we can make that even liver for your users. So I've done that with a document. Another thing that I can do is do a very similar thing with Google Sheets. So here I'm in a similar place as I was before. Come up to page settings again. I'm turning off subnav. You can turn off subnav for the whole site if you wish to. I've decided to leave it on because some of those pages, I may want subnav. Come up to page type, Google Drive, and this time I'm looking for something called Workplace. I believe the document is called Workplace Safety. That was the one. So I know how I want this to operate. So first of all, I'm selecting the sheet that I want. So I'm not only displaying the Google Sheet, I'm actually displaying the tab that I want. And it's a workplace safety record. And I know how that I want this to display. So I'm just turning these on, and I'll cover these in more detail later. I'm also changing the page size, so only 25 records are displayed on the page at a time. Again, same process as before. OverDRIVE runs into that sheet, pulls the information across, displays it appropriately, and there we have it on the page, and it's automatically paginated. Okay, so what have I done? I've taken a Google Sheet, I've lifted it, made it more interesting, put stripes on here. I can sort this. I can also filter this. So let's say I'm looking for a particular surname, or I might be saying everything that happened in Asia, or if I'm looking for a particular incident, I can do that. And let's say that, okay, I want to see everything that happened on this particular date. I can do this. So I'm using the data which exists within Google Sheets, but I'm making it much more active and interactive for the user to make it more interesting. Okay, so I've kind of created the site very quickly. You see, within a few minutes, I've got my site created. I've changed some of the look and feel. I've added some content in, and I've changed some pages. So you can see how quickly we can create these sites, these OverDRIVE sites, from existing data that we've got. You may be asking, what do I do if I don't have that data? Well, we can actually create the structure from within here as well. So as I'm coming up here, I can create a folder up here. It will display under this menu item, under this folder here, and it will create that folder within Drive as well. So essentially, I'm just replicating this, and there's a very, very tight sync between OverDRIVE and Drive. Okay, I'm going to show you one or two other things. Now we can get deeper into the demonstration. So I'm coming back to this intranet tutorial because I happen to like this. As I said before, we can pop this out onto a separate tab. So here you've seen the standard Google Docs interface, so I can edit this and deal with it as I want. But actually, what I want to do, I want to provide my users the ability to edit this on the site. So I've got this button here, and I can click this button. So what this button does allows me to change this document within OverDrive without having to go into Drive, find the right folder, select the right documents, etc. I can edit it right directly within Drive. So I've just put changed here, and you see that that's appeared within this document. And if I'm quick enough, if I delete that, come back into OverDrive, and I think you just saw it disappear there. So what does that allow me to do? It allows me to present information to a user, present a document, guide them to the right document, and allow them to edit that document within OverDrive without having to send them into Drive. And as I said before, find the right folder, find the right document, make the right changes, etc. I can do everything within Drive. And I can do that whether it's a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, Google Slide, etc. So across a full range of Google Docs. Okay, other things that I can do, I've talked about documents mostly, but OverDrive is much more than that. So if I come up to company information again, and I'll look at contact details, one of the bugbears we've always had with Google G Suite and Google Apps as it was before is that the inability to share contacts, with other users. Well, we've solved that within OverDrive. So I'm coming to page settings. I could come up here to the cog admin menu, go here, but actually I'll show you we've got a shortcut here, which takes me directly into page settings. And this time from my page type, I'm selecting Google Contacts. And we've got a pre-created group, essentially just called Demo Group, which I'll just add in here. What this allows me to do is display this information within that contact, all that contact information on the page. So it makes it easy to share information. Now this is okay. I've got kind of 2 or 3, 4 pages of contacts in here. But actually what I want to do, and I forgot to add in, I'll add in photos here. So if I just go to a new page, you see that that contact information is filled out with photos where they're available. And I can do things like I can click on this and I'll see information in here that I want to about this particular contact. And again, I can use the filter on here. So let's say if there's somebody called Bryn, it will find that information and display that that content for me, or I can search by phone number, email address, or anything else that I want, and it's automatically building that content, that contact information for me again, which is good. So we can share contacts. What we can also do, if I come up to the finance folder and select calendar, is share calendar information. So again, I'm coming to page settings. I'm looking at this page type, which is Google Calendars. I'll pre-select some of these simply because I know the ones that I want and how that will operate. I can select, the default views when it starts, etc. And now I can select the calendars to display. So some of these are a little bit spurious, but we've got some demonstration contacts in here, and I can add some of these as we see. So here we have my calendars overlaid on top of each other. It's not particularly clear to see, but that makes it easier. And also what I can do, I can turn off some of these calendars. So actually I can filter down this information to only show the data that I want to show, which again, is very handy for me. So we've taken documents, we've enlivened documents, so we're making it easy to share documents. And then we've then created some contacts which we shared, and we've shared a calendar. Other ways that we can share information, I'm just going back to the company tutorial. So this is an embedded document here. I'm going back into page settings, and I'll go through the main menu, and I'm going to select this option here called comments. So I'll click save, the page will refresh. Now what I'm doing is adding comments onto this page. So this is a comment. you can imagine how this works. If everybody who's using it can type properly, that would be useful. So I can post that. I can have this is a reply. So I can reply to comments as well. And we're expanding the functionality here. So we're going to be mentioning users. So I can add somebody and they'll get a notification to say that somebody's commented on this particular page. And they can come back here with a link directly into this page. So this is very useful. Handy for us to be able to comment on documents that were created, either individual documents which are embedded on the page like this, or also documents where it's maybe like in the company reports folder here. You know, it might be interesting just to have a discussion about the documents in here in general, and we can do that. So we can turn comments on for individual pages or across the site if necessary. Another way where I can view information, I'll come up to company info, and let's have a look at the company news section. Here I've got half a dozen or so Google documents that this is my news, this is my blog section. It's not particularly interesting, but what I can do, come back up here to change view, and I can turn this into a blog view. So what a blog view does, we look at those documents, we pull out the first paragraph and the first image and kind of create a list of these. And then if I'm interested, I can click through and I'll see the document in its entirety that I can read through to my heart's content, which is all very useful. Okay. One final thing that I'll show you, I want to come up to operations and risk management. I'll just use this one. We've got the ability to bring in whole sites within our OverDRIVE site. And this is slightly unusual, but very, very useful. I've got external data that I want to incorporate in here. So I'm just going to type in our OverDRIVE.io site. Include that in here. I should have got rid of the subnav, but I think you'll be able to get the picture. And then what that does, it kind of looks at that site, brings it across, and kind of embeds it on the site. And it's a live site, so I can come through here and I can click through, I can see what I'm doing, I can interact with the site just as if I was visiting the site through a browser. Why is that useful? It's useful because I'm directing my users to particular sites, whether they be information sites or whether they are external organizations or even external applications, and I'm bringing those into OverDRIVE. Another way that we can do this, if I come up to page settings, you'll notice that one of the page types is a simple redirector. So I click on a menu item and it sends me to a new page. And I can say whether I want to open up within this tab or open up a new tab, etc. So I've got more control over this. There are a number of page types which we've not been through, things like Google Forms, Google Groups, maps, photos, etc. I'll talk later about kind of how you can investigate OverDRIVE further yourself. And you may have some use for these somewhere within your organization. Let me talk to you a little bit about the look and feel. So as I said, we've set this up and we spent literally 2 or 3 minutes setting this site up with the colors, etc. And what we are finding is that there are most of the internal sites that our customers are using have very simple designs because they want the content to be the most important thing, the front and center. However, what we have is the ability, if I come back up here to site settings, and I'll show you one of the other tabs, which is developers, we've got the ability to add in JavaScript or style sheets. So that's something that's either really interesting to you or not interesting at all, depending on your technical ability. But just suffice to say, if I go to the OverDRIVE.io website, which is our product webpage, this is actually built on OverDRIVE. So you can see that we've got slideshows in here, we've got particular layouts, we've got lots of funky things going on. This is all built with OverDRIVE functionality and some scripting work which we've created and added into the site settings. Okay, so I hope that's given you an idea of how quickly it is to create sites, what you can do with those sites, and how you can manage those sites, and what effect that will have on your operation. We just come back to the presentation. I'll show you this again. We've got a number of customers in lots of different industries across the globe using OverDRIVE. We've got a great deal of variety in our existing customer base with organizations from every industry and making use of its functionality and every location as well. So the fact that every licensed user can create as many OverDRIVE sites as they wish means that the variety of uses across our customers is immense, and it's growing all the time. Just to kind of give you some examples from the companies you can see on the screen. So Pegasus Life, they're a construction company based in the UK, and they're creating mostly retirement complexes. They have their main internet site for their 200 staff running on OverDRIVE. They've also got a document portal to share documents with external legal and financial contexts. In fact, they've got some project workspaces for use on their construction work sites. So they've got a wide variety of uses for OverDRIVE within that one business. Go to the other extreme, London Metro University. They've recently started using OverDRIVE, and they've got one use so far, and that's to assist in their health and safety processes, because it manages their access and permit to work requests across the whole campus. So they started very small, very succinct in their use, and they're expanding from there. And again, finally, we've got Aerofoam Industries in the US. They're a manufacturer of aircraft seats. They use OverDRIVE as a quality management system, and that's used throughout their manufacturing process from the very start to the end. So as you can see, the variety of uses, industries and types of organization that OverDRIVE is being used by, it's a clear indication of the flexibility that OverDRIVE brings to any organizations such as yours. Okay, in terms of next steps, how we can go from here, there are a number of ways that you can continue your investigation of OverDRIVE, and I've got some on screen at the moment. So if you haven't done so already, you could create one or more trial sites to test some of the features shown in the demonstration, and we'll send out the links to show you how to do that. We'll also send you links to our public demonstration sites, so you can visit them, have a play about, see a completed site, see how that might look. And we can also arrange a one-to-one consultation with one of our partners or with ourselves to look at your requirements in detail and to see which OverDRIVE features will work for you. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. I hope you found that useful. There are one or two questions which I'll try and pull out. So Peter, what about subfolders within folders? Do they create child pages? Yes, they do, Peter. So actually, let me just flick back to my demonstration site. So in my Google Drive, I've got my main folder, which is company internet. I've got a subfolder company info, and I've got a subfolder of that company reports. And the OverDRIVE, I've replicated that structure. So the main site is the intranet site, company information, and company news. And this can go down to as many levels as you like. So it's very easy for you to create very deep structures using the OverDRIVE, and it's linked to Google Drive. Excuse me. Another question: in the free version, the site you create is visible on the web for everybody. So I think you're talking about public sites. That's not available within the free version. You have to have our enterprise plan for public sites. Clearly, we need to restrict public sites because they are fairly resource heavy. Okay, very good. So can Google Forms be embedded? Yes, they can. We can take that. We can embed a form so users can complete the form on the site, and then we can have a responses spreadsheet on a separate page, which may be restricted to administrators or managers of that particular section. So only they can see that information. So I can have the form, I can have the responses, and even I can have a dashboard kind of created from that information collected within the form. So does every folder have a landing page? Yes, Peter, it does as standard, but I do have the option. If I go into, let's go into company info, for instance, and I'm going to page settings. In general, I've got this option here, which we've turned visible. If I turn visible off and click save, you'll see that company information will disappear from the menu structure. So it's still within Google Drive. It's still sitting within OverDrive. It's just not visible on the menu. And again, what we can do, we can change the order of these. The standard order is alphabetical for the folders. So we can change the order just by adding some content into, and I'll show you quickly. Just order appearing changes it from there, so we can change it around. Is there any way to create a threaded messaging system like Facebook messages, or is this a comment feature? Yeah, I think you talk about the comment feature, Peter. Might be worth having a play with that, see how that works for you. The other option is we can embed Google Groups. So if you use Google Groups for discussions, we just embed that directly onto the page and do it that way. So there's two options there, comment or groups. Okay, so we'll be sending some information out with some of the links that I talked about. If there's any other questions that you've got, then please feel free to send them through to me. But appreciate your time and thank you everybody for your questions. It's always good to have questions to answer. So we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.